All right, let's stick there. You just talked about Justin Herbert. He's off to a big start. So what makes you think he can sustain it? I mean, let's also acknowledge here, he's taking on Josh Allen, taking on Lamar Jackson. How does he get it done?
Yeah, I just think this is his year. He started out hot the first two games. He's looked very good, been very efficient with the football, and he's running a lot more, like I said he was going to do this year. And that's what he needed to do to kind of put himself in that same level with the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, be able to create more and extend more with his legs. Even Mahomes does it. So now that Herbert's starting to get in that next mode and starting to use his legs a little bit more, show his athleticism that he has because he's a freak athlete. Now I think he's primed and ready to go get this MVP this year.
And his team takes on another one of your former teams in the Broncos this weekend. We are calling it the Chris Harris Jr. Bowl here in this program. But the big story coming out of Denver is Bo Nix and some of his turnovers. We saw that early in his college career, sometimes his tendency to throw interceptions. From you, from a defensive back brain, what are you seeing from Bo Nix that can be improved upon? What do you kind of see in a quarterback's eyes or in his progressions to say, okay, like that's one that I can snag?
Yeah. Just taking what the defense gives you. Sometimes as a young quarterback, you want to make those flashy plays and those sports center plays. And I think with Bo is that he just has to take what they give him. And it sounds easy, but it still can be hard as a young quarterback because you always want to make that big time play. And I think that's what's happened right now with Bo. He's pressing, and he's gotten he's been picked off a couple times this year. And right now, going into this game, the Chargers, they feast off turnovers. So he has to be very smart coming into this week and being able to control the football, play complementary football with the defense and not have takeaways. And that'll give them a chance to win.
Chris, I laugh because you say take what the defense gives you. We had Dan Orlovsky earlier today, and Dan talked about part of the problem for young quarterbacks is that a 4-yard pass is right there, and they don't want to make it because it's just too easy. When you look at young quarterbacks in the NFL, why is that not getting coached out quicker?
Guys are greedy. They want to make TV. They want to be on that highlight. And they don't understand that Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, those guys lived in taking what the defense gave you. And after you look at their stats, they're going to always have a high completion percentage, always have a high rating every year. And, that's what these quarterbacks have to do. They have to understand that it's very hard to get downfield throws in the NFL. So you got to sometimes dink and dunk your way down the field and be efficient that way. And that works in the strategy, right? Being able to give your defense some rest. But these guys are gunslingers. They want to throw it down the field. They live in this era where, social media is huge and being able to make that highlight 70-yard bomb is what's going to go viral. So you see that even in professionals, the guys they rather take that instead of just taking an easy throw.
Yeah, and I think that living in this era now of airing out the ball, of the big time highlights that pop off the page, that makes defensive backs that much more important when you're airing the ball out. I said on our bold predictions going into the season, I thought Kyle Hamilton was going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know the last time, though, that a DB has won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. A DB has won. Obviously, Pat Surtain in Denver won it last year. I don't know if it would be unprecedented, but it's very uncommon for a DB to go back-to-back. Why is that? Why don't defensive backs maybe get more credit?
Yeah. Because the D-line is just kind of they kind of just give the Defensive Player of the Year award always to the D-line. It's like a D-line award, really. We might as well just change it, right? Let's have a cornerback or a DB Player of the Year and then a defensive player or a D-line Player of the Year. Because, if you look at the history, it pretty much goes to edge rushers, right? Other than a sprinkling year where you get a Luke Kuechly or a Ray Lewis, right? But DBs is hard. You might not get the same targets the next year. They might not throw at you at all. Being a Defensive Player of the Year, you might not get any action, right? That means no stats. And it's hard to make Defensive Player of the Year without the numbers that you need. And you seen guys with Gilmore and Bland and Pat. I'm glad they've got it because we're on a drought a little bit in the DB era. So those guys going to continue to raise their level. Hopefully with this passing game era, you can start to see a lot more DBs, right? And I can see that happening. Right now, though, my pick defensive player of the year, and I have to go with Myles Garrett. He's been pretty much unblockable this season.
Okay, so you played on an incredible defense that helped your team win a Super Bowl. Let's be honest, your defense got that Super Bowl for you guys. All right, so what defense right now, when you look around the league and you're like, okay, this is the defense that blows my mind, who's got it?
I'm going to have to go with the Packers right now. I think from the speed that they have at the backer position, the secondary is playing nice right now. I love the kid Nixon. He's playing great over there at the left corner for the Packers. Then you add in Micah Parsons to go with Gary on the other side. I mean, they're going to be tough to beat this season, and with that D line, they're going to give offenses problems all year long.
Let's stick on that for a minute then. Do you feel like there's a defense that you're seeing right now in the NFL that has the makings of being the next no-fly zone defense?
Nah, not right now.
No.
Us, the Legion of Boom, those other historic defenses, I think those come around very slim, right? To be able to have our defense, we had literally no weaknesses from D-line, linebackers that could fast, that could run, that could cover, that could play zone, that would come and hit you, to our secondary, to what we had, or all four of our guys made the Pro Bowl, and multiple All-Pros together. You rarely see that, right? And then you have a Von Miller and a DeMarcus Ware, two Hall of Fame edgers out the gate. So it's hard. It's going to be hard for teams to be able to put a full roster like that together with this cap era and how much guys are getting paid. But I don't see it. I don't see it happening anytime soon right now.
I mean, the fact that I even have to ask the question, I think, is telling enough, because you didn't have to ask about the no-fly zone, the purple people eaters, the Legion of Boom. Like, you didn't ask about that. You just knew that those defenses were elite. But you bring up Micah Parsons in Green Bay. Let's talk about his former team. That's a defense that's been struggled in the secondary without Deron Bland, and really struggling to put pressure on the quarterback, because I guess that's what happens when you trade away one of the best edge rushers and pass rushers in the entire NFL. How concerning should that be for Cowboys fans?
I'm very concerned. If you look at the Cowboys, their secondary is not looking good right now. The balls are going over their heads. Russell Wilson had a heyday, and they couldn't identify Malik Neighbors. He just continued to get behind the defense. And when you play in the secondary, you always point out the star, right? The key number one receiver. You always got to know where he's at. And this guy would just continue to run down the field, make plays. Bland is injured. Diggs, you can still see he's hobbled. They got a new defensive coordinator, which is playing a whole new coverages that they probably haven't played in the past. So I see them in very big trouble. I wouldn't be confident if I'm a Cowboys fan. Dak Prescott is going to have to put up big numbers every week.
All right, you're a defensive player. Let's get your thoughts on the most controversial play in the NFL right now. Tush push, legal or illegal?
I hate the tush push, because when I was with the Saints, we literally practiced the tush push like for 15 minutes every day, right? So it's like taking a whole new period of in our schedule that we have to stop this one play, right? So I hate it. I wish they will ban it, but right now it's legal, and the Eagles are unstoppable right now with it. We've seen what they did last week versus the Chiefs, and what they can continue to do. You would think with Kelsey retiring that the new center wouldn't be as good, but he's just as good as Kelsey would run in the tush push. So hopefully it gets banned next year, man, because I think everybody's getting fed up with it.
Why can't Chris, this is a copycat league, right? And I understand why everybody can't draft, two Hall of Fame edge rushers. Everybody can't draft a Peyton Manning. I understand why some things can't be replicated. Tush push is just a play. Why can no one else figure out how to execute it the same way?
It doesn't. It really doesn't make any sense, right? NFL is known for being a copycat league. You would think you would have another team that could be able to copy that. Even with Mahomes, him being able to do it. He's a strong upper body, strong lower body, kind of like Hurts. I think he would be successful. But I think you have to have a quarterback that can get very low to the ground and is not very scared of risking being hurt or risking going under that pile with those big O-line and D-line and being maybe one of those guys falling on top of you, right? Hurts is used to that. And a lot of these quarterbacks are soft when it comes to that, and they might not want that continuous, contact like that. So you got to find the right quarterback that has the mindset to be able to get down in there and get those dirty yards for you.
Caroline, I'm just real quick. I'm just saying, if I'm a quarterback, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. But also, if I'm a team, I'm looking over and I'm like, hey, fullback, you haven't done anything all week. Get your ass in here and run the tush push. Like, I don't understand why we just don't give it to some, like, find another guy with beefy legs and let him do the play. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
Right. I agree.
I mean, you could draft for the tush push. Just find the thickest quads in college football, spend a 3rd-round pick on them, boom, done. Problem solved. Yeah. But the Eagles and the tush push are a statistical anomaly. Another anomaly that I call a pleasure to watch every single weekend play the game of football is Travis Hunter. I mean, he's a DB and he's a wide receiver. He's playing both sides. He played both sides at a very high level in college, and we're kind of seeing that trickle up to the NFL. I mean, you're a DB. You have the perspective of how hard that position is, how much of a grind it is to play that position at a very high level. From your perspective, just how impressive is what Travis Hunter is doing? Not just doing that, but also perfecting the receiver position as well.
I thought he played a solid game last week. I wish they'd get him more involved on offense, which they're trying, because if you look at a lot of Trevor Lawrence's picks, they've been he's targeting Travis Hunter, right? He's trying to get the ball down the field to him, but they just intercepted the ball. Defensively, it's going to take him some time. When you're playing spot duty like that and you're not in the whole game and getting the gel of the game, that's very hard to do at the corner position. You have to be in there from play one to get the feel of how the game's going, the feel of the pace of the receivers, to get the speed down. And then from there, you kind of start covering and getting to the game. But, playing spot duty, that's going to be hard for Travis. So hopefully he can find a way to be able to get out there on the field a lot more on defense instead of coming in on crucial downs, crucial situations. That's hard to ask for a rookie, especially when the game's very fast right now. But if anybody can do it, it's this kid.
What's tougher, playing wide receiver or playing corner?
Oh, playing corner for sure. Because you don't know where at receiver, he knows exactly where he's going, right? At DB, he has to guess. And he's also going against another guy that's just as athletic as him, right? These guys in the NFL are pure athletes.